Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is Gary Stein. Gary, how are you today?
Ready to fear the turtle, Stanley. How about yourself?
I know. I pulled out my red T-shirt for Coach Michael Locksley of the Maryland Terps. He's going to be with us for a few minutes, and we'll talk with him right after I tell you about the Costas Inn. That's right. Everybody in the area knows the Costas Inn is the preeminent place to go for crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, steak, salads, anything like that. But they've also stepped up their curbside because they know an awful lot of people don't feel comfortable going into restaurants. Go to their website, CostasInn.com. You can order your food, pay for your food, pick it up. You don't even have to get out of your car, and everything is packed immaculately. The Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, phone number 410-477-1975. And again, website CostasInn.com. Michael Locksley, first of all, Gary and I both want to thank you for having us to your home for the yearly Coach Barbecue. It's a great idea that you've done now for, I believe, 3 straight years, right?
Yeah, 3 straight years of the media barbecue.
And has it paid off for you? Have the freeloaders come through for you?
You know, you never know, but I do know this, that we've been covered very favorably in terms of the media's been fair. We're not asking for them to just put the rose-colored glasses on. And as I say there, you know, everyone has a job to do, and we have a lot of respect for the media in this area, being one of the top media markets in the country. We're very fortunate to be in it. And so, you know, for us, it's kind of that rite of passage where each year we turn the page on last year's coverage and we start anew, good, bad, or indifferent.
You know, it's always been my opinion, too, by meeting us and getting to know us, it's much harder for the person, whether it's a talk show host or writer, to have the same dagger that he might have if he doesn't know you. So I always think it's smart to kind of win the media over rather than contest them.
Yeah, I guess they say you catch more bees with honey, right? So what we've tried to do is really create that a relationship, because like I said, a lot of respect for the media and the job you guys do. And we want to be an asset in terms of making your job easy, but we also want our players to be able to take full advantage of the media market we have here right in our backyard. And there's no need to have issues between us. And it's just a great way, like you said, when they see us as human and we see you as human, it maybe makes you think twice as you put pen to pad and start writing stories about the people that you're writing about.
Hey, I know Gary's got some really good stuff. He always does his homework. I wanted to start off with a question that takes us back to, I think, the middle of the summer 2012. I believe you were at the time an assistant to Coach Etzel, correct?
Summer 12, I was the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach here. Yes.
All right. So now you get the word that Kevin Anderson has done this deal to go from the ACC, which is what Coach Etzel signed on to coach the Maryland Terrapins in the ACC. You find out you're going to the Big Ten. Did you guys privately, like when you went back to your office, go like, holy crap, we're going to the Big Ten? That's not an easy neighborhood.
Yeah, you know, it was shocking. And me being a local that grew up in the ACC era of Maryland athletics, it was a little tough pill to initially swallow. But having been a head coach and having been on the other side of it, you start understanding the economics of what it takes to run a Division I athletic program. And, you know, with Maryland being such a great academic institution, pair it with a conference like the Big Ten, and we're in a conference with like-minded schools, and it was the start of the change of the guard in college athletics with the conferences reconfiguring. And you know, I'm glad we got in on the front end of it, because I would hate to be sitting, you know, maybe somewhere else right now, especially with the news that came out most recently about the media deal that the Big Ten has been able to access. And to me, that's what it was all about. I know traditions and people who have been the diehard Maryland fans like I was, or I have been, were really taken aback by leaving. But you saw the benefits of what the decision was all about with what's recently happened here in the Big Ten.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, $7.5 billion, 3 major networks. That's going to be huge for the conference, obviously, and huge for Maryland. Coach, Stan actually brought up the tradition that you've started now, having the media to your home for a barbecue. Thank you so much for doing that.
You want to make a menu suggestion, Gary?
The menu was great. Thank you. The only thing I would say is more beer, but other than that, it was fine. Another great tradition, Coach, is you have the team to a Ravens preseason game for the last however many years, and the team congregates. You're up on the scoreboard, I think, between the third and fourth quarters on the field, and you offer a walk-on a surprise scholarship. I think this year it was 2 punters, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me a little bit about that and what that does for the morale and the persona of the team.
Yeah, anytime you're able to award a walk-on, or in this case, 2, because we've had a 2-headed punting situation since I got here, with both Colton and Anthony Pecorella basically sharing the duties, and have both, done a really good job under the circumstances. But to me, it's a way to publicly acknowledge somebody that typically doesn't get acknowledged. And to be able to do it up in Baltimore, Baltimore has been a great city for our university in terms of we've recruited it very hard in football, and we want to continue to develop the relationships up in Baltimore. I know there's always that, hey, you're a DC school, but we're not. We're in the state of Maryland, and we're huge Raven fans. We look at them as our big brother, and we always go there to take our team, but then to be able to use that platform to award a scholarship to a player or 2 like we did this year that are well deserving. It just, to me, it gives them the recognition that kind of job well done, and you're rewarded in front of a lot of people. I know it's been always something that I look forward to doing.
And it's always been very well received. I've seen it the last 2 or 3 years. Coach, in the interest of time, because I know you're busy and we both know you're busy, let's just talk a little bit high level about this team this year. You've said at the Big Ten Media Days, and you said at the barbecue, that this is probably the deepest team that you've had since you've been the head coach, the strongest team in many areas. What excites you about the season coming up, and what are your concerns at this point with about 17 days to go before the opener?
The thing that really excites me most is the players in the locker room. When you come in, and we're in year 4, and so obviously you go recruit guys that you feel fit your system, but then you also inherit kids, and I've talked about this, and these kids, it takes a while for them, because it's like coming in as a stepdad, and then the first year it's like we're kind of circling each other, like, hey, what's going on with you? And well, we're in year 4, and these are my kids. I mean, from top to bottom, even the ones that I inherited. And I'm really proud of all of them in terms of how they've bought into the culture that we want to create. They understand, and we're very fortunate, based off of what we were able to accomplish last year, that this is what happens when you buy in, and we can take this thing even further, which is our goal this year. So I'm most excited about the leadership and the culture that's been created in that locker room, and that we have guys that really want to go out and be the best version of themselves in all aspects of their lives. The thing that most concerns me is, when you do have a little success like we did last year, that, the natural tendency is to become maybe a little complacent. And as we know, complacent is, the opposite of progress. It's what stagnates progress. And so I haven't seen it from this team, but that's the one thing, that you worry about, that they think, oh, let's build off of what we did last year, as if we're going to start with what we finished the year with, the team we finished the year with, when in all actuality, the team from last year is no longer here. And what we have to do is start from ground zero again. get it to that point and then take it to a whole nother level. And that's our goal, is to take another step this year, a bigger step this year, by playing with the necessary discipline, the necessary toughness, the effort, and all those things that we talk about, what it takes to be a champion.
Coach, I know that the same team that ended last season is not there, but the momentum that you built by winning, a couple of late games and really kind of doing a dominating performance in the bowl game, does that have the chance? Have you seen it carry over to the purposefulness of the team?
I've seen the practice habits that we displayed at the end of last year, where they understood that if you make the investment during, Monday through Friday, as we like to say, then Saturday becomes a very rewarding. And I've seen the team really embrace that part of it. And to me, that's what it was all about. The benefit of going to a bowl game is that you get to develop the younger members of your team, because you continue to practice. And those extra 14, 15 practices, you can't put a price tag or measurement on just how valuable they were for us. And so there's no doubt about the benefits of what we were able to get accomplished last year have helped us as we've taken the next step with the 22 version of the Maryland football family.
I just wanted to let folks know that great seats are still available for all Maryland Terrapin home games. Fans can go to umterps.com/represent to purchase tickets. I wanted to ask you about, along those same lines, we had Boomer Esiason back when Gary and I were kids, and you were even younger than that. And we had Scott McBrien. Maryland has not been a great place for fantastic quarterbacks. You've got one now. I don't want to say fantastic, but darn good, Tagliavua. What has he done for not just the Terrapins right now? What has he done that helps you in recruiting future quarterbacks at Maryland?
Well, I'll say fantastic for you.
Okay.
I know you said you didn't want to say fantastic, but I'm gonna get on my soapbox for my quarterback. And as I've said before, I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. A lot of people, only thing they remember is the national TV game against Iowa, where he had a bad quarter.
Prefix.
But if you look at the body of work in totality, to break the records, and again, I was a young 12, 13-year-old at the time when we were known as Quarterback U. We had Boomer Esiason, Frank Reich, Neil O'Donnell, Stan Gelbaugh all come through this place. And for him to break records of guys that played a long time in the National Football League, to me, kind of sets the standard. And I was here to recruit Scott McBrien and see what he did in his 3 year. And so for him to break those records, to me, speaks volumes of the talent that is there. When you talk about what his impact has been on our program, if you take Leah Tungavailoa out of this program, I don't think you see a 7-6 team last year. And that's just being honest. And we do have talented players around them. But as I've come to find, when you have a quarterback, you have a chance.
Yeah.
And we've got a quarterback. And I'm the biggest advocate for him. Now he has to go out and continue to show the consistency that he has shown, coming back out after the Iowa game and some of the things he's done around here. But his ability and the marketability that he's added to our program to recruit receivers, to recruit other skilled players that want to come play with him. Again, like I said, you can't put a price tag on it. And people want to play with a winner. People want to play with a quarterback that they know can spin it and get them the ball in advantageous positions to make plays, because it allows them to add value for themselves. And there's no doubt the guy can make all the throws. He's got the intellect. He's got the emotional makeup to be a successful leader for us. And we're excited to have him for a third year.
Mike, you talk about consistency and stability. The COVID pandemic really blew up a lot of stuff. He came around at that time, and then put on top of that a couple of different offensive coordinators that he had to, learn under, et cetera. You've got Dan Enos now for the second consecutive year. What kind of an impact, how important is it for that consistency between offensive coordinator and quarterback? Now they're entering their second year together, and I'm just wondering what that effect would have on him.
Yeah, Dan has been a great addition to the staff. The thing that, what we do on offense, what we do on defense and special teams, the philosophy and our terminology and the systems, they don't change. And fortunately for me, I was able to hire Dan a year ago after working with him at Alabama in 2018, which was our first time working together. And, I was the play caller, obviously, there, and he was the quarterback coach. And he and I worked very seamlessly because we have very similar beliefs. But, Dan has called every play since he's been here. He's done a tremendous job developing and recruiting that quarterback room. He's a guy that is well respected in this industry as one of the top quarterback developers in the country. Each year and every year, he's got chances to go to the NFL to coach quarterbacks. And what I've seen is based on that relationship of that Dan has with Leah. It's been very beneficial to the development of not just Leah, but of our offense as a whole. And, the systems and philosophy doesn't change, but obviously he's able to add his personality to it. Here's a guy that's been a head coach. He's been a coordinator at the highest level, had great success. And he's one of those guys that I think if we continue to do the things that we've shown under his leadership on offense, he'll end up being a head coach again, which I want for him.
Mm-hmm. Coach, you mentioned the Iowa game, but let's broaden it out just a little bit more. The next step for Leah is taking the play that he makes against teams with under 500 records and converting that play to teams with records above 500. You play in a tough neighborhood, perhaps the toughest division in any sport in the country. How do you get him there? How do you get the team there to that next level where 7-6 isn't good enough anymore and you're reaching for higher things?
Yeah, for us, we already have stated 7-6 definitely is my standard. And we set the standard as a program as to what success looks like based on where we started when we came here in 2019 to where we are today. Obviously, we've made some strides, but nowhere close to what we want to be, which is why we oftentimes talk about the best is ahead for us. But for us to take that next step, obviously, and I've said this before, and it's not cliche to say it, it's not necessarily about the other people in our division. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, Rutgers are all really strong teams. But our biggest opponent that we've faced when we haven't played to our standard has been ourselves. And good teams don't beat themselves. Good teams, they take care of the football. They limit big plays. They create big plays. And so for us, that's the next step for us is to be one of those teams that doesn't beat itself, where we're turning it over. We have a ton of penalties, a ton of missed tackles, a ton of explosive plays. If we can eliminate the Terps versus Terps issues and get it to the fourth quarter against these good teams, anything can happen, and it's been proven over the 30 years I've been in coaching. So to me, it's about focusing on the things we can control, and we'll continue to do that.
Coach, along those same lines, piggybacking on Gary, this isn't all during Mike Locksley's tenure, but just since we've been in the Big Ten. 0-7 versus Ohio State, 1-9 Michigan, 2-10 Michigan State, and 1-6 Penn State. Is the next step just dramatically starting to beat those teams, or is playing 3 of those 4 games this year where you are in the game into the fourth quarter? Is that important to get where you're eye to eye with those teams? How do you think about that?
Well, let me go back to your stats, because I heard 1-6 since we've been in the Big Ten against Penn State, and I've been a part of 2 wins against Penn State.
I think you're right.
2014 and 2020 So
I misread that. I misread that late.
All right, I just wanted to make sure, because yeah.
And Leah is fantastic. He's a fantastic quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, but how do you look at that when you've got those kind of teams that beat you 65-10? Is playing them 35-30, even if you lose, still improvement, or do you look at it nothing short of wins?
Yeah, being close is only good in horseshoes, Stan, and horseshoes. So no, we're not in it to play close. We're in it to win. That's why we play the game. That's why there's a scoreboard. And You know, whether it's a 65-10 or a 35-30 game, I'm gonna be disappointed. I know our team will, because of the amount of work that goes into it. And like I said, for us to be able to put ourselves in, again, you know, I know a lot of people hear me say this and they're like, what do you mean? But, you know, we don't talk a lot about winning around here, because when you know, winning is a result. And so what we talk about is what it takes to win. And the things it takes to win are, you know, being able to run the football and stop the run, being able to limit big plays on defense, create them on offense. That to me right now is still, when you study winning, the teams that create the most differential and big plays allowed and big plays gained, along with that turnover margin, those are the two important things. And, you know, when you look at those scores you talk about, we just have not done those things very well. And so my goal and my job as the leader is to find a way to get that to where we are winning and doing the things necessary to win. And that's not beating ourselves. And I'm going to continue to harp on it. Good teams don't beat themselves. And we haven't done that against some of the upper echelon teams in our conference. And it's my job to get us to do that. And that's what we've worked towards all off season. That's what we continue to preach and talk about. And that's why we recruit the way we do, to recruit the type of players that can make these plays and are capable of playing to our standard. And then if you do that, the winning takes care of itself, and as I've seen over the 30 years I've been in this business.
All right, Terrapin fans, want to remind you, great seats still remain for all home games. Fans can go to umterps.com/represent to purchase tickets. I know representing Maryland, Virginia, and DC is important to you, Coach. We want to get you out of here. I know Gary's got a question for you. I think I know what he's going to ask you, and it's an important question. Go ahead, Gary.
No, actually, I was going to ask him something else, Stan.
That's
Coach,
all right.
you know, I wanted to go back to the barbecue that you had. You were kind enough, actually, to bring out a photo of you playing basketball, shooting a jump shot when you were at Towson State University. I used to call those games when I was a student. That's where we first kind of ran into each other. My question to you is, thinking back to those great days, those were some good Towson teams.
Right.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a coach? Was that in your mind even back then?
You know, it's so funny because, and I've said this when I got into this business, you know, growing up in this area with a single parent mom, the coaches that I grew up with, my youth football coaches, my basketball coaches, my high school coach, they were like father figures to me. And I guess you tend to want to do what the father in your life does for a living. And I can remember sitting in class in junior high and 10th grade, drawing plays up, like taking the playbook and redoing it, or coming up with my own plays. And so I knew that if I wasn't going to be good enough to play at the highest level, I was going to take football as far as it could go, or basketball as far as it can go. And then most likely get into coaching. Did I know I'd be at this place at this level? No. But I did know that, you know, coaching was in my blood, and it was something because of what this game has given to me. First in my family to graduate from college and go, met my family, my wife there, had kids based off of that. Football has just been so good to me that I knew I wanted to stay involved with it in some form or fashion.
Coach, I know we got to let you go. You're a good friend of Coach Saban's. I know that when this Big Ten shakes out with UCLA and USC in it, scheduling is going to be pretty, you know, well set. Is there any chance you could ever talk him into doing a home and home with Alabama coming to Maryland? Any chance of that? Or he doesn't want to? He's not going to want to handle Maryland then.
Well, you never know. You never know. I don't know about wondering if he can handle us, but you never know. I do know this: we recruit kids that want to compete and play against the best. We're in the toughest division in all of college football. We won't back down from the opportunity to play anybody, in my opinion. So, looking forward to the 22 version of the Maryland football family.
A lot of good seats
Sounds
still
good.
available. Great seats are still remaining for all home games. And Coach, tell us real quick. I know I've lied to you and I kept you 2 more minutes. How important is it to get some fans out there? Go to umterps.com/represent to buy your tickets now.
Yeah, it's really important. Obviously, we represent this region. this area, this state. We're the flagship university. There's nothing more I would want for these players, especially the work that they put in for them to run out into the shell each and every. We got 7 home games, which is unheard of. But to run out and see our colors flying in that stadium, too many times we've run out and you've seen the opposing fans dominate our venue. And you know what? Obviously, we'll take whatever fans we can get, but to create a home field advantage is something that I've seen because I've been here when we've had it, the shell field under Coach Friedgen's era. There's nothing more I would want than to have that for our players. And I know one thing, we're going to go out and do the best we can to put a product on the field that they want to come see. But we just need that support regardless. And we need the commitment from our fans that they're going to be there to support us, win, lose, or draw. So excited about representing the flagship university. Hopefully we can get people to come fill the shell and come support our program.
All right. Coach Locksley, we really appreciate
Sounds
the
good.
time. And hopefully we can make this a yearly tradition as well, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys for having me, man. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Coach.
All
All
right.
right,
Thank
fellas.
you. There
Yes,
he goes.
sir.
We'll tell you again that this interview has been brought to you by you don't have to stay for this, Coach, because you've heard about the Costas Inn already. The Costas Inn
hungry.
brings us these Zooms. He might want to join us there for food. He's really a tremendous communicator, Gary.
He really is. I mean, just the fact that he has the media, like you were saying, to his house before the season, that's just an awesome move. He's a good guy. I really root for him.
He is a good dude. What kind of basketball player was
He was a little bit of a bully, to be honest.
And he played under Terry
He
Truax?
played under Terry. He's got that big body.
Yeah.
He'd come in, he'd throw his weight around a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, he could shoot the ball,
Yeah.
But when he came in, he would, do a couple tough fouls, kind of be the sheriff in town, and that was kind of it. But yeah, definitely good.
All right. Want to remind everybody we've been brought to you by the Costas Inn. The Costas Inn is doing a great job with curbside. I bring it up every time because they spend a lot of advertising money, Gary, telling people how they can get there and eat crabs and all that.
Yeah.
I just want to let people know if you're not comfortable with that setting, they're happy to take you if you are. But if you're not, people my age and so on and so forth, you can get steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, steaks, salads, same nightly specials. Just order them online, CostasInn.com. Order your food, pay for your food online, and then pick it up. And you don't even have to leave your car. That's the Costas Inn. Gary, next week, we're going to try and do something football related. I'm going to work on doing something. Well, we did something this week, football related. I'm going to work on getting somebody to talk about the Baltimore Ravens because their season is fast approaching. And Gary, how did it turn out? It looks like we're going to get Joe Flacco starting against his old team to start the season.
That's, you know what, the NFL somehow they pull a rabbit out of their hat, seem to do it every time, but it should be interesting.
It should be interesting. I got to ask you one question. It's quite apparent that the Ravens from last year to this year were really spooked about the injuries. I turned on the Bears and the Chiefs last night. It was played last weekend. Mahomes is playing, Kelsey's playing. I think there can be a tendency to be a little too afraid of injuries, or do you think this is the right thing to do, is not start your most important players?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's, multiple ways to go about it. If I were Harbaugh and I was coaching the team, I'd probably do what he's doing in light of the fact that all those injuries happened last year.
Yeah.
I think he's playing it safe, conservative, but I think it's the right move.
All right. I hear you. And
Look, I don't think, Stan, I don't think any more reps for Lamar Jackson in preseason is going to make him a better quarterback.
Yeah.
And I'm not even
sure.
sure.
Aaron Rodgers has said that basically about his own play. He's playing 2 series against a team now is not going to help me this season.
I mean, I'm not going to blame Harbaugh for this, but was it that important to play J.K. Dobbins against the Redskins last year for 1 series in the last preseason game? Yeah. Was it that meaningful? Of course not. And then he ended up tearing his ACL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, stuff happens. I get
Yeah.
it. It's just not that important to be playing.
I hear you. All right. We'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, my man. Thank you.
All right. Again, I'll be back Monday night with Ross Grimsley and next Thursday with Gary Stein. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.